Hello all, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I'm Ravina Bhaskaran, an author, illustrator and publisher. It's again my Jingle All The Way Christmas coloring book coloring page. I have chosen this illustration in the left to color today. I have already uploaded the entire book flip through. If you haven't watched that, I'll include the link in the I button that is popping right now. You can go check that out. This scene feels like a picture book illustration. I want to give it a try in my coloring style. For this, I don't want to give any usual color palette. This book also comes with a pre-made color palette. I'll show you. It has each color palette in some theme. Today, I am gonna choose this Nordic Christmas theme, which is very different from the usual. I want to keep it in the Christmas theme, as well as I want to try something different out of this. I don't know whether the camera is catching the color palette, which has some light gray and light bluish white, but in the real books you can see the color properly. Now let's use this palette and color our illustration. I think it's gonna be interesting. I don't know wherever I'm gonna use that color. I took this as a challenge and I'm gonna try it out. It's a very big challenge for me. For coloring this, I have chosen Faber-Castell Polychromos 120 set. If you haven't watched the unboxing video and review of that, review of the product, you can go check that out on the link I have given in the I button that is popping right now. Also, I am gonna use my Derwent Intense, I guess. It's a water-soluble ink pencil. If you haven't watched the unboxing and review video of this, I'll also include the link in the I button that is popping right now. I don't have anything in my mind. I chose the color palette and the art supplies because this has 120 set, so somehow I can make the color palette out of it. So to speed up the process, I'm gonna use this intense pencil. Maybe in background I can use that. I thought of using oil pastel also. Maybe in some other video, some other page, I can use that. Today it's all I'm gonna use is this Derwent intense pencil. Let's do this together. Here at the back page, I have tested out my Derwent Intense. As you can see, I have picked out some color which I have ticked. These are the colors, some from the grey range and Ionian green, Shiraz color, sepia ink, Payne's grey, neutral grey, iron green and Indian ink. What I have planned is I'm gonna use this Derwent Intense for color blocking as well as for my background. Since this is a thick sheet, the paper holds a little better than the normal Amazon paper. So let's try this out. Let's start. This initial stage is very important for the coloring process. Choose your color palette accordingly and then you start your main page. Before starting the main page also, I have this mini thumbnail version of the illustration. First, I want to try out the color palette here so that I know where whichever element I want to use any color. First, I'll do this and I'll show you. Okay, this is the scene that I'm gonna create. I have chosen the color palette and it looks good. Here I want a few changes because I've used dark blue here. I have this in my intense, only dark blue I have. I'll switch this dark blue to the very light blue. I'll find that in Faber-Castell or I'll get the color in the Caran d'Ache luminance, I guess. So I'll use that. For the light, these fairy lights and everything, I cannot use yellow because yellow is not in our color palette. So I want to make it glow using only the white color or silver color. So let's use that. Let's not use yellow here. This color palette is very limited, only 5 colors. You can use tints and shades of that color palette and create your illustration. I'm gonna stick with this 5 colors. I mean, I'll be using tints and shades of this color only. It's gonna be a little bit tricky. Also, these two resembles same. I want some contrast here, so I may change it to that purple kind of color. Everything else I like it here. Green and contrasting purple color is so good for this merry wall hanging. Also, I like that shiraz color. This is gonna be fun. Let's try it out. Before getting into the coloring, I want to quickly mention that if you are using Derwent Inktense on your coloring book, even though if it is a thick page, your brush pen or whatever brush you are using, it's gonna be a minimum minimum water in this brush tip. Always clean using a paper towel and then try to activate it. It should be in the wetness of your alcohol marker kind of wetness, because you don't want to soak a lot of water into this. If you are using watercolor in your artworks, then the paper thickness should be at least 300, I mean above 250 gsm. So you cannot put loads of water and play around with it. You want to minimize the use of water. Even if you are using the KDP version of my book, I mean the standard version where the paper quality is thin, you can try this out technique. Always constantly clean your brush and take out that excess wetness from your brush and try to activate it. This wetness is more than enough to activate your Derwent Inktense. So let's get started. First, let's start with our background. I am using the gray color. Let's secure the right side of the page. I don't want that to get messy, so I protected it with masking tape. First, I am scribbling out the edges. I am gonna create some vignette kind of effect where the outer border is so dark, and coming inside the gray will settle down and it will be very light. I am creating it now. Since we don't have any light grays, I am playing with the dark gray in the outer edge or border. Then moving on to this Shiraz color, I am using it on the bow. Later, I'm directly scribbling on the page for the raccoon sweater. Wherever the space is plenty, I can play with the pencil and then activate it water. Wherever the place is very minimum, like these ribbons and scarf, I'm gonna wet my water brush and pick the colors from there. It depends upon the space of the illustration. I am using iron green and ionian green from Derwent Intense range, and using this as my green color. This is the original speed that I am painting. Sometimes I'll pick the color from the pencil using my brush pen. Sometimes, if the space is more, I'll draw directly, scribble directly, and activate it. It's okay if it looks patchy. Everything we can correct it with a color pencil. So I am going wild and activating it, even though if it looks patchy. Also, this is Christmas tree only, so no problem. Anyways, it's gonna be uh, streaky, so that it gives that Christmas tree leaf effect, that spike effect. For the tree trunk, I am using some warm gray. I'll do entire illustration with the cold gray. For some difference, I'm using here and there some warm gray. For these mouse, I'm using some dark gray, and half of the body is that white color. I left it out as white color. For raccoon's tail, I am creating using the same gray color and using it for the tail. Let's go to the ladder part. Here I'm using another shade of gray and creating the difference between these grays. It has few gray shade, like I have mentioned previously, neutral gray, Payne's gray, something like that. create some difference, and it will show very good on your coloring page. I have blocked out the ladder as well. Moving on to this wall hanging, to create some contrast, I am using Shiraz color. Then what else? These gift boxes, I'm using the greenish gray. It will our color palette has some greenish gray, right? So I'll use this later. I'll correct it with my pencil as well. Then I'm really not sure what color should I use for that raccoon's cap. So I am concentrating on the other elements for these Xmas little ornament box. I am giving different colors. I am concentrating on other elements like these gift boxes and the ornaments inside this basket and the ribbons. At this stage, everything is like color blocking only. Later, we can correct everything with our color pencil. Now, I am using that greenish gray effect for this cap. Later, I'll match with my color pencil. Moving on to the Christmas tree, I'm using Polychromos 120 set. I have used only two greens. One is chromium green and another one is chrome oxide opaque color to create these streaky Christmas tree. As you can see, this is the normal speed that I am working on. I am creating streaky lines. If you are working on Christmas coloring book and looking for how to color your Christmas tree, this effect you can go on. Constantly I'm changing between the two types of greens and creating that texture which resembles the Christmas tree. In the very edge, I am gonna darken it out. uh, I have shown in the red arrow mark here. I'll darken it out in each layer so that it will look so defined. It resembles your natural Christmas tree, and also it's so funny. It's so whimsical. It looks so good if you darken it out. That edges. I'm going wild and creating the lines here and there. I made sure it didn't get into the other objects in the Christmas tree. Later, I'm hiding out the black lines so that it will give that soft, snowy effect. I hided out all the black lines of the Christmas tree using my Uniball Signo white pen. Whatever I'm using here, I'll give every link in the description below. Then using some dark indigo blue and creating one or two lines to give some depth to the leaves of that streaky Christmas lines. Also, I'm making sure that the white pen has dried out, and I am layering some green on top of the white pen. Moving on to our candy canes, I'm using two kinds of red here. One is burnt carmine and another one is red violet, I guess. Yeah, red violet. I am using these two for this entire illustration. Also, I am hiding out the black line so that it gives that glowing effect. I'm not gonna entirely hide out the black lines. Somewhere where I need that soft effect, I'm gonna hide it out. For some highlight, I'm using my gel pen to create some streaks on the Christmas tree. For the jingle bells, I am using a silver marker paint. This is so reflective. I hope you can see. Moving on to the fairy lights, since we cannot use yellow, I'm using the white Posca pen, dabbing it so that it creates that blurry light glowing effect. Once it dried out, I'm using my light blue pencil to give some light blue tint on top of that. Then I am working on the star that the raccoon is placing it on the tree. I have no idea how to go further, so I am allowing some time and working on other things, darkening out that candy cane and other ornaments. And since we are using the white gel pen, I want some time to dry out. It will dry quickly. Now I have moved back to the star and working on that using some light blue color, then using different cold gray shades and creating that star. This star will be reflective, so I'm gonna use all kind of grays there. Moving on with the trunk of the tree, I am using some warm gray since we need some difference here. So I'm using some warm gray, giving shadows where the leaves are connected, blending everything with the blender pencil. Moving on to the raccoon, I'm using some cold gray for the furry cap. Also, I am correcting out the tail of the raccoon. I'm using from cold gray 1 to 6. Wherever I'm using the dark gray, that is cold gray 6, and lightest gray is cold gray 1. Then covering the black lines and giving it a soft furry effect. Also, I'm covering out everything, that knitted cap, that fur below that cap. For these knitted cap, I decided to go something interesting since I know crochet and knitting is little bit. I know crochet very well, so I am creating some patterns on this cap. First, I am marking out some effect or pattern using some light Prussian blue. Later, I want to change the color of the scab since it's so bluey. I want some gray. Here, I referred back to the color palette once again, and I'm using some blue on top of it. Sorry, gray on top of it, and created this bluish gray kind of effect. I'm then darkening that pattern on the knitted cap. Moving on to the sweater, I am again creating some patterns like knitting, creating leaf shaped knit here and there. I'm using that two red only, burnt carmine and red violet, and blending everything, giving shadows and highlight. Moving on to that scarf where raccoon is wearing, I'm using basket weave kind of effect. Those who know crochet, you know that basket weave stitch. So vertical and horizontal lines alternatively. I am creating some effect. You can use whatever effect you want. I'm hiding out the black lines and giving a soft touch to that. I'm not leaving the white as white. I need some cold gray kind of effect so that it will be very well defined in the coloring. Each element is slightly colored as cold gray. Then I'm using some dark gray and flicking out some fur effect. It's so lively. Once you give some fur flicks, it will become so good. Moving on to the Hands and legs of a raccoon, cold gray. I'm using cold gray 6. Then I'm using some lighter cold grays and uh, defining out the edge from the background. Moving on to that star, I took out the Faber-Castell Polychromo silver pencil where you can find it in the last tray. It was so useful actually. Once I used that, it was so good and it looked like a shining shimmery effect. I am amazed with that pencil. I am giving a furry effect to the hands and legs also. Then moving on to the ladder, I am darkening out the edges where the horizontal and vertical lines are meeting so that it gives some depth to the ladder. I'm not gonna hide out the black line using my white gel pen for this ladder. Uh, I want that to be there so that it looks very good for the ladder. Moving on to the mouse, same similar kind of coloring. I have used cold grease and both of the reds here. And for the socks of this mouse, I'm using some greenish gray, hiding out all the black lines so that it will look like a very soft mouse. I have also added some whiskers there. For the gift box, I want to keep it simple, so I used only the green gift box. Moving on to this gift box, I am defining the color using some patterns with my silver pen. For the socks, I am using the same red violet color and I am blending it out. The outer edges I am covering it with the white pen, and for the lines that is present inside I'm gonna leave it as well. For this gift box I am correcting it with my pencil, green and blue, greenish blue kind of effect. Since the light source is our Christmas tree, I will give dark color for the box that is facing us. I created some dots using the silver pen. It's so reflective. Moving on to the basket, I'm giving the red here. I created some contrast near to that green box. I am using this red basket so that it gives good contrast and balance to our eyes. Wherever I need shadow, I am using indigo color and I'm darkening it out. Later for this ornamental box, I am using a white pen to give that letter. As I have said, the box that is facing us, where I have mentioned in the red arrow, it will be very dark since the light source is that Christmas tree. Uh, the things that is near to that Christmas tree is light, and outer from the Christmas tree it will be dark. I know nothing about shadows and highlights like a pro artist. I'm just a regular normal person like you. So this is the effect that I created. As of now everything is so good. That silver pen is very shimmery and it looks like a silver foil. I hope you can see this on camera. It's so good. As of now, let's move to our background. Let's play with the color pencil for the background. Here what I've done is I am using the cold gray range from cold gray 1 to cold gray 6. I have used entire cold gray range and created the background roughly because everything is so texturized. I don't want any smooth portion here. For the center I am using cold gray 1 and outer towards that I'm increasing the number from 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. For the very corner I'm using the cold gray 6. I leave no white space for the background. Everything is covered with the cold grays. Then I'm separating out the floor and the wall with one line, and I am creating some wall brick kind of effect using gray pencil. It created so much difference and whimsiness to the illustration. I'm randomly creating the bricks. Moving on to that floor, I'm again using the cold grease and giving different shades of cold grease. And for the fairy lights that is in the ladder, I am using the same Posca pen effect, blending everything with the white pencil, also the blender pencil, blending everything. And for the that ladder, I am using dark Payne's gray and darkening out the edges. I didn't cover the black lines, so it gives that woody effect. Moving on to the shadow part, I'm not, as I have said, I'm not a pro in depicting the shadows. I am using my basic common sense and creating these shadows. I don't know whether it is logically right or wrong. I'm just going with the flow. I am creating the shadow that falls on the wall as well. Here I have done one mistake. I'm raising it and creating the shadow of the ladder. I kept in mind that my light source is that Christmas tree, and the shadow will fall apart from that. So I am creating the shadow in the left side. Then I am correcting one by one wherever I find some mistakes, and I'm darkening out the shadow as well, and I am blending everything with my blender pencil. Then I'm using my fine liner and giving the black lines to the string, that light string. Then this is the magical part. I'm creating some ribbons in my silver pen. I'm squiggling it and it created amazing effect. It's so reflective. This silver pen is so good, and it's so reflective, and it created much difference. For each light bulbs, I am using a slight tinge of, I'm giving this slight tinge of silver color for the entire light. To give more light effect, I'm using Prismacolor white pencil, and I'm coloring outside the light so that it gives that glowing effect. Further, I'm adding few snowdrops here and there. Since that lighter cold grays can't have much difference if I add white paints, I'm using some dots here and there on the cold gray, dark cold gray colors, which is the outer part of the page, so that it gives that snow dropping effect. I don't want to put loads of snow. I am using very minimum snowdrops here and there, that too in the outer edge, and some dots in the inner part where the light cold greys are present. I am done with everything, I guess. It looks so good. I am so happy because my picture book, I really love my picture book illustration. It's so soothing to my inner child. So I really love this coloring. I hope you like this video, and let me know in the comments how this looks. It's so reflective. I couldn't take my eyes off. That's all for this video. See you soon in my next video. Happy coloring. Bye bye.